911 emergency, Whitney reporting?
Yeah, we need an ambulance on Fairfax and Wilshire. Please, Los Angeles. We have a man shot. We have a man shot.
Wilshire Boulevard. Okay, hold on, I'll get
Right
that.
on the corner of Wilshire and Fairfax.
We still clap and cheer when we see our black legends basking in the spotlight. But have you ever paused to ask yourself, are we simply consuming their very last breaths in exchange for a few fleeting minutes of entertainment? The truth is, this world can be cold and brutally cruel. We demand they sing with power when their lungs are failing from cancer. We demand they dance with grace when their bones are rotting from disease. And we demand a bright smile, even when their souls are screaming from isolation and the crushing weight of prejudice. We call them legends, yet we let them wither away in lonely hotel rooms. We watch them collapse under brutal cocktails of painkillers, all just to maintain that perfect facade we so desperately crave. Today, I need you to be brave. I want you to look straight at the raw, naked truth through 19 haunting pieces of footage capturing the final moments of black stars before they left us forever, where the tragedies hidden on the fragile border between life and death are finally stripped bare. It is the desperate look in the eyes of an artist singing a farewell, knowing they will not live to see the sunrise. It is the radiant smile of a young talent, mere minutes before being extinguished forever by senseless gunfire. And in the end, we must find the answer to the question, is that glittering halo truly a worthy reward for their talent? Or is it, in reality, just a magnificent gold-plated mask, worn to hide the scars that are still bleeding underneath? In 1965, the cameras of Hollywood A-Go-Go unwittingly recorded a slow-motion death sentence for an icon. On a desolate stage, stripped of the usual frantic energy, 23-year-old Frankie Lymon stood alone. No backup dancers, no safety net, no place to hide. He was exposed under the cold, harsh spotlights, subjected to the judgmental, prejudiced stares of a white audience who peered at him as if observing a broken toy from a bygone era. A grown man forced to play the golden boy of 10 years prior, a gaunt soul desperately clawing at a ghost of a fame that had long since vanished. The agonizing truth behind his performance of Little Bitty Pretty One lay in a sonic lie. Frankie was lip-syncing to his own voice from when he was 13. His angelic soprano had shattered with puberty, leaving the artist to borrow the childhood echoes of his past just to appease a society that only accepted him as a well-behaved little boy. Drowning in a gray suit far too large for his skeletal frame, his dance moves remained skillful, yet they could not mask the profound exhaustion of a man squeezed dry and then discarded by the record labels. As the camera pulled in for a close-up, the naked reality emerged through a broken smile. Frankie was missing a front tooth. That missing tooth was a slap in the face to Hollywood's glitz, a silent testament to years of poverty and the ravages of heroin. Instead of the expected glamour, the footage captured a man clinging to the scraps of a 13-year-old's glory just to survive another day. They had consumed his talent, then left him to rot from the inside out, with wounds no one cared to see. This video stands as Frankie Lymon's final appearance on a major stage. 3 years later, in February 1968, the curtains closed for good in Harlem. He was only 25. His quiet passing on a cold bathroom floor, an empty syringe by his side, ended the journey of a natural-born genius, a man who spent his final breaths trying to revive a dream that the world had stolen from him a long time ago. In the world of rap, the name The Notorious Big stands as a monument that cannot be toppled. But the night of March 8, 1997, became a tragedy orchestrated by hatred and hidden guns. On national television at the Soul Train Music Awards, Biggie Smalls appeared in a sharp suit, standing alongside Puff Daddy to honor Toni Braxton. Those were the final frames capturing the imposing, confident figure of the king of the East Coast, right inside the rival territory of Los Angeles. However, behind that power-filled smile lay a naked truth about a decision that altered destiny. According to the haunting account of G-Money, a close brother present in the convoy that night, Biggie actually did not want to be at this party at all. According to plans set months in advance, that very Saturday morning, the entire team was supposed to head to the airport to fly to London. But Puff Daddy issued a request that changed everything. Cancel the flight, don't go to London, stay here to attend this party. The horrifying truth is unveiled through the eyes of an insider. Biggie had to submit to the arrogance and the desire to flaunt power of his manager, an effort to assert dominance right on the opponent's home turf. Instead of walking safely on the streets of London, Biggie was kept behind, only to walk straight into an after-party at the Peterson Automotive Museum. Rare footage capturing him leaving the museum at midnight reveals a chaotic atmosphere. He climbed into the passenger seat of a GMC Suburban and waved to the crowd one last time, a casual gesture, yet one that carried the heavy weight of a silent farewell. At 12:30 a.m. at the intersection of Fairfax and Wilshire, the silence of the night was torn apart. A black Chevrolet Impala silently pulled up alongside Biggie's car like a phantom. In a split second, a gun fired 4 consecutive shots through the steel door, embedding themselves straight into the massive body of the superstar. The giant slumped amidst the cold shell casings, while blood began to soak the luxury car seat. The haunting nature of this event does not end there. Archival footage recording the crime scene even captures a mysterious figure, a man in a blue suit and tie, standing silently, observing the chaos right after the gunfire ceased. Many believe this individual was the professional hitman who executed the rapper according to a perfectly orchestrated script. The most painful part is not just the death itself, but the terrifying silence that has stretched on for decades since. In 1994, footage recording a rehearsal for a musical featuring the song Amazing Grace became one of the most haunting documents ever captured of Phyllis Hyman. Under the glare of the studio lights, the diva, whose voice could dominate any stage, was belting out notes of salvation. Yet, behind that powerful exterior lay a pair of eyes filled with utter exhaustion. Just 1 year after this moment, the music world was shattered by the news that Phyllis had ended her own life. That rehearsal video, therefore, is no longer just pure music. It is the silent cry for help of a soul that had already decided to leave this world before the final note could even fade. But behind that powerhouse voice lay a naked reality, a war against psychological darkness and the cold ingratitude of backstage management in New York. Those who knew the dark corners of Phyllis's life knew she had wrestled for decades with bipolar disorder in an industry that viewed artists merely as money-printing machines. Phyllis did not just face the loneliness of a talented black woman. She was worn down by financial pressures and the total absence of a mental health safety net in showbiz. That 1994 rehearsal was, in truth, a final effort to cling to faith, while in reality, she had been squeezed dry of all emotion by the entertainment system until there was no way out. Between those hallowed melodies and her tragic death on June 30th, 1995, lay only a few hours before the singer was scheduled to perform at the legendary Apollo Theater. Phyllis Hyman was found in her New York apartment, having overdosed on sleeping pills, leaving behind a suicide note, bitter with exhaustion. Her death at age 45 was a cruel full stop to the discarded life of a queen of soul, a legendary diva who once stood at the pinnacle of fame, only to be besieged by the entertainment world in isolation and rejection during the moments her soul was most broken.
Some secrets aren't buried deep. Instead, they are laid bare right beneath the blinding stage lights.
In the history of disco, the footage captured by John Woolbrandt in September 1987 at One Market Plaza in San Francisco is far more than a mere concert. It documents the final fading moments of Sylvester, a gay icon withering away under the crushing weight of illness. Amidst the raucous energy of a softball championship, at exactly the 16-minute, 57-second mark, Sylvester suddenly severed the flow of the music. He delivered a brief yet gut-wrenching announcement. His life partner had passed away the very night before. That single moment transformed the dazzling stage into a silent farewell, where the artist laid bare the agony of loss, right before he too would be consumed by the plague of the century: AIDS. The roots of this collapse are traced back by observers to dangerous connections lurking in the shadows of the entertainment world. On The Late Show in late 1986, when asked by Joan Rivers about the wedding ring on his hand, Sylvester confirmed the name Rick with absolute dignity and pride. However, behind that public confession, Hollywood insiders whispered a haunting conspiracy theory: a secret forbidden romance between Sylvester and Rick James. The two most radiant black stars of the era were rumored to be bound by a pact of pleasure and devotion. The all-night revelry, the secretive parties reserved for the elite, inadvertently became the breeding ground for a deadly pathogen. In that world of neon lights, their love and connection turned brilliant glory into a death sentence, making the death of one a dark prophecy for the inevitable fading of the other. The grim reality is that immediately following that performance at One Market Plaza, Sylvester refused all medical intervention. He chose to surrender to end a long and turbulent journey, as if his soul had already departed with his partner the night before. Just 15 months after that footage was taken in San Francisco, Sylvester drew his final breath on December 16, 1988, at his home in the Castro district at the tender age of 41. This quiet death was the direct conclusion for a star who gave his all to art, only to be discarded the moment he no longer had the strength to stand. In 1991, David Ruffin's final interview appeared like a haunting memoir of a monument standing on the brink of collapse. At age 50, the face of the one-time soul of the Temptations was deeply etched with the scars of time and the ravages of substance abuse. Instead of the proud arrogance of a superstar who once stood at the pinnacle of Motown, one saw only a man nostalgic for his gospel roots, and that very first moment he met the boss, Berry Gordy. Though he had been exiled from the group since 1968, David still used the most respectful words to speak of his replacement, Dennis Edwards, and his old friend Eddie Kendricks, a belated effort to heal the cracks in a glorious past. But behind the velvet curtains at the Hitsville headquarters, those who once stood beside David often spoke of a silent verdict that Motown executed the moment he demanded the group be renamed David Ruffin and the Temptations. The backstage managers of Detroit understood that his excessive pride and heavy cocaine addiction not only cost him his spot in the group, but turned him into an outcast in the eyes of record executives who prioritized the stability of their money-making machine above all else. That 1991 interview was, in reality, a desperate effort to prove he still had value, that he still held harmony in his soul, while in fact, his physical body had been ravaged beyond saving. Just a few months after this footage, David Ruffin passed away at a hospital after being dumped outside an emergency room from an unmarked limousine. A legend who once brought in millions of dollars took his final breath with barely a few dollars in his pocket. His death by overdose was the terminal point of a road to self-destruction, a black star squeezed dry of his talent, turned away by the entertainment system only to end his life in silence amidst the dark corners of society. In 1992, the final footage of Mary Wells stripped naked the cruelty lurking behind the halo of the Queen of Motown. Gone were the glittering gowns. Mary appeared on a hospital bed with a swollen face, her windpipe ravaged to the point of collapse by cancer. In the video, the voice that once ruled the charts was reduced to a raspy, broken whisper. She used her remaining breath to thank Bruce Springsteen and the Temptations for their financial aid. The reality exposed a painful paradox. The woman who enriched an entire music empire was now forced to live on donations just to pay her hospital bills. The root of Mary Wells's tragedy lay not in disease, but in an economic death sentence signed in her youth. Backstage managers in Detroit knew well that Mary was a victim of slave-like contract clauses. Leaving Motown at just 21, at the very peak of her fame, she was stripped of all royalty rights from the recordings that were printing money. The physical devastation of 1992 was merely the terminal point of a journey where her labor was squeezed dry. An A-list star with no health insurance, no passive income, and turned away by the system the moment her voice could no longer generate profit. Her death on July 26, 1992, at the age of 49, was a cruel full stop to the discarded life of the Queen of Motown, a legendary diva who once stood at the pinnacle of fame, only to be rejected by the very system that crowned her, in her moment of absolute destitution.
Does the angel foresee the day its wings will break, as it surrenders its final secret amidst the glittering lights of vanity?
The moment captured at Clive Davis's rehearsal at the Beverly Hilton Records, Whitney Houston's final interaction in a state of visible instability. She approached the younger singer Brandy Norwood and discreetly passed her a small piece of paper. 48 hours later, Whitney perished in a hotel bathtub. To this day, Brandy steadfastly refuses to reveal the contents of that note, guarding it like a sacred relic, creating a void filled by earth-shattering conspiracy theories. That Whitney foresaw her own death and sent a final warning to the one she trusted most. The footage recording Whitney Houston's final performance at Kelly Price's party on the night of February 9, 2012, is naked evidence of the withering of an icon. Immediately after that moment of passing the secret note, she took the stage for an impromptu rendition of the hymn, "Yes, Jesus Loves Me." But instead of the angelic voice that once conquered the world, viewers heard only raspy, shattered gasps. Her exhausted face and vacant eyes were the signs that a legend had reached the absolute limit of endurance, both physically and spiritually, just 48 hours before being completely erased. Whitney departed, leaving behind an industry that continues to operate with indifference upon the ashes of its idols. There, the halo is, in truth, merely makeup for a slow execution, a place where they are ready to set up cameras to record every stumbling step of a falling legend, rather than reaching out a hand to save her. The footage capturing Eddie Kendricks' final performance in his hometown of Detroit in 1991 is no different from a spine-chilling scene in a survival horror film. Under the cold, unforgiving stage lights, the once illustrious singer of the Temptations appeared like a walking ghost. Lung cancer had gnawed away at his body, turning the dashing gentleman of yesteryear into a gaunt, terrifyingly pale figure. He stood there, fragile and solitary, struggling to hold onto the rhythm of a legendary hit, while his breath came only in painful, broken gasps. That performance was no longer an act of entertainment, but a voluntary artistic execution. The title, "Keep on Truckin'," rang out in that space with a suffocatingly tragic undertone. It was no longer a lyric, but a desperate command from a soul, forcing a rotting body to stand firm, even though death was already closing in. The signature falsetto notes were replaced by exhausted, straining efforts, creating a brutal contrast between an unyielding spirit and the physical collapse occurring right before the audience's eyes. Eddie Kendricks passed away 1 year later, leaving this footage behind as an indictment of the cruelty of the spotlight. That night, Detroit witnessed a legend sacrificing the last fragments of his soul to the public before the eternal darkness swallowed him whole, leaving a silent and haunting void in the history of music. In August 2001, amidst the azure waters of the Bahamas, the final footage of Aaliyah in the Rock the Boat music video captured an artist at the absolute zenith of her career. At just 22, she appeared on a yacht, radiating an aura of vitality, her dance steps overflowing with life. Yet, reviewing those images now reveals a heartbreaking truth. Aaliyah spent the very last hours of her life doing exactly what she loved, completely oblivious to the tragedy that was waiting to strike just a few hours later. The moment the cameras stopped rolling, a desperate rush to return home triggered a fatal chain of errors. The tiny Cessna 402B was forced to carry a load of equipment and personnel far exceeding its limits. Later investigations revealed a chilling reality. Mere seconds after takeoff, the crushing weight made it impossible for the aircraft to hold the sky, sending it plunging into the earth. The dream of the Princess of R&B came to an abrupt, eternal halt amidst the wreckage at the precise moment she was touching the hem of her greatest glory. Aaliyah's death was a sudden, jarring silence, leaving behind an unceasing grief for her family and the Black community across America. She departed far too young, leaving a musical legacy that was unfinished yet undeniably precious. Those frames captured in the Bahamas are no longer just a music video. They have become a raw document of a God-given talent, a woman who lived and sacrificed everything for her art until her very final breath. In 2002, Lisa Left Eye Lopes, the rebellious and electric spirit of the group TLC, embarked on a journey to reclaim her peace within the wild jungles of Honduras. But the video diaries she filmed during this time were not merely documentation of a vacation. They transformed into haunting confessions of a destiny that had been foretold. With a camera in hand, Lisa shared a raw truth about feeling besieged by dark forces and possessed a fierce conviction that she would depart this life young, just like her late close friend, Tupac Shakur. The truth regarding her final days bears the color of a mystical spiritual thriller. Just weeks before the tragedy, a car accident occurred while Lisa was behind the wheel, resulting in the death of a local boy. Lisa believed that death was meant for her, and that the boy's soul had gone in her stead. In the final reels of footage, one sees a quieter Lisa, seemingly trying to arrange her soul and confront the greatest fears of her life before the hour of destiny truly knocked at the door. On an April afternoon, while driving an SUV down a lonely road, the vehicle suddenly lost control and flipped multiple times. The precise moment the camera inside the car fell and the screen cut to black was the very moment the life of the 30-year-old artist closed forever. Lisa died right at the scene, leaving behind a brilliant musical legacy and a diary of unfinished footage. For the Black community and those who love TLC, her departure was not only the loss of a talent, but a contemplative reminder of premonitions that lie far beyond the reach of human understanding.
Ladies and gentlemen, ask yourselves, what is truly more terrifying?
The cold steel of a gun pressed against your temple? Or the moment the silence of millions becomes an irreversible death sentence?
On January 6, 2013, the hip-hop community was shaken to its core by the death of Freddy E, a young man only 22 years old. Before the fatal gunshot rang out, he left behind a video titled "Spoken Word Ignorance," a final monologue from a shattered soul. With a minimalist tone focused intently on his eyes, this footage was no longer an act. It was a final, desperate attempt to expose his loneliness to a world he deemed far too indifferent. The truth behind those frames was a deep psychological darkness following a painful breakup. Freddy was an artist known for bringing laughter to others, yet he harbored internal pressures that found no release. The title, "Ignorance," was a pained cry against the lack of understanding between human beings. Even his ex-girlfriend, Honey Cocaine, had to admit the video's ending was beautiful, the tragic beauty of someone standing on the edge of the abyss. The tragedy reached its breaking point when Freddy posted raw, suicidal thoughts on social media. He no longer hid his haunting intimacy with death, tweeting, "If there's a God, then he's calling me back home. This barrel never felt so good next to my dome. It's cold, and I'd rather die than live alone." These chilling posts were scrubbed from the rapper's profile within minutes, a final fleeting cry for help that he quickly retracted, retreating into the darkness after being met with the cold indifference of society and those he trusted most. In his final moments, the status, "It's all bad, y'all," served as a horrific period to it all. The Black rapper departed this world as the cold barrel of a gun became his closest companion, leaving an unhealable scar on the hip-hop community. That gunshot remains a stark reminder: the silence of the world can be colder and more ruthless than a gun pressed against one's temple. Tupac Shakur stepped out of the MGM Grand Lobby on the night of September 7, 1996, carrying the heat of a cultural icon who had just witnessed his close friend, legendary boxer Mike Tyson, claim victory. In the black world of that time, Tupac and Tyson were twin symbols of power and resistance, yet it was that very atmosphere of fiery triumph that led Tupac into a deadly trap when he personally engaged in a brawl with Orlando Anderson, a notorious gang member, right there in the hotel lobby to defend the honor of his record label. That instinct-driven scuffle, captured entirely by surveillance cameras, became the fuse that ignited a brutal vengeance just a few hours later. At 11:15 p.m., as the black BMW carrying Tupac came to a halt at a traffic light on the Las Vegas Strip, the perpetrators in a white Cadillac unleashed a rain of bullets into the passenger side. 4 rounds slammed straight into the 25-year-old artist's body, shredding his right lung and plunging him into a critical battle that lasted 6 days before he departed forever. Tupac's trusted bodyguard was not present in that fateful vehicle, an absence that leaves a haunting shadow and thousands of unanswered questions to this very day. Tupac fell amidst the brilliant neon lights of Sin City, leaving a vast empty space in the soul of the black community. He departed at the absolute zenith of his musical career, standing as a cruel testament that even the brightest stars can be swallowed by the darkness of the streets in a single split second, placing a final period on a chapter filled with blood and roses of a hip-hop cultural icon. These melodies resonated amidst the silence of a New York room in 1980, stripped down to nothing but an acoustic guitar and a voice stained by the weathering of time. Bob Marley sat there, recording the final frames for Redemption Song, the musical last will and testament of a king facing the final hours of his life. At age 35, at the very summit of his fame, the body of this reggae icon was becoming a desolate battlefield, ravaged by cancer that had metastasized to his lungs and brain. Through the camera lens, what emerged was a gaunt soul, using his very last breaths to whisper into the ear of humanity. Bob Marley's deep gaze in that short clip reflected a strange clairvoyance. The singer looked straight at death as if looking at an old friend without a trace of fear. The lyrics emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds, rang out while the chains of disease were tightening their grip around a chest that was crumbling from within. In those hours, he taught us that even when the flesh is imprisoned in agony, the mind can still soar in total freedom. He departed, leaving Redemption Song behind as an eternal lighthouse, reminding us that even when death is standing right beside us, music remains the only power capable of transmuting pain into immortality. On the night of November 6, 2020, cell phone footage captured the image of King Von, the rising rap star from Chicago who had just captivated the youth with the hit Crazy Story, laughing and joking at a close friend's birthday party. At age 26, the young man appeared full of life, dancing amidst the raucous music, completely unaware that the Grim Reaper was already standing in wait right outside the nightclub doors. Mere minutes after the camera lens went dark, deafening bursts of gunfire tore through the air, permanently extinguishing the life of a talent entering his most brilliant hour. His sudden departure left a silent void and utter shock, even for the elders of the craft. Drake, one of the most powerful artists in the world, could not hide his bewilderment when speaking of his ill-fated younger brother. "Damn, rest easy, Von. I was just with the homie. He was a real storyteller, a real one for the city. This one hits different." The death of King Von is not merely the loss of a talented rapper. It is a bitter, silent note on the cruelty of fate. He fell just as he had tasted the sweetness of success and the respect of legends, leaving that final video behind as a naked reminder of the cycle of violence that never releases its grip on artists who rise from the streets. On April 15, 2020, a short clip on Instagram caused the entire world to freeze. But not because of a new movie role. It was because of the unbelievably gaunt form of Chadwick Boseman. Appearing to pay tribute to baseball legend Jackie Robinson, the hero of Black Panther revealed a sunken face, hollow cheeks, and a withered body that seemed worn down to the very marrow. The public at the time was shocked. Thousands of questions regarding his sudden weight loss flooded the comments. Yet the only response was a stoic silence from the actor. The world was only truly shattered when Chadwick drew his final breath 4 months later, unveiling the secret of 4 long years fighting the agony of terminal cancer, a disease that tormented his body until the very final hours of his life. The death of the Black Panther warrior that August transformed this video into one of the most haunting final images, leaving behind an aching reflection on the endurance of the human spirit behind the spotlight. Chadwick Boseman departed in silence, leaving a lesson on true courage. The strongest heroes do not need superpowers or polished armor. They are the ones who dare to smile in the face of death to spread kindness to the world, until their very last breath. On June 15, 1979, the stage of The Mike Douglas Show witnessed one of television history's most memorable moments when Minnie Riperton stepped out to perform Lover and Friend. Draped in elegance, a silk blouse with a cream white bow, and classic black trousers, the singer with the angelic voice maintained a radiant smile and a regal bearing. Yet few knew that behind those soaring high notes and that glowing aura lay a body being heavily ravaged by breast cancer. The footage capturing this final appearance carries a heart-wrenching weight of reality. Though her voice remained clear as crystal, a closer look revealed the signs of exhaustion etched into her face, and her right arm hung nearly motionless. The brutal aftermath of a mastectomy and the spreading of malignant cells. Minnie Riperton did not stand there to beg for pity. She stood there to sing, to affirm that the passion for art is stronger than any decay of the flesh. This was the final performance of an angel before her wings closed forever. A mere month after these images were broadcast, the Rose of Soul music drew her final breath at the age of 31, leaving behind infinite grief for her admirers. Her death in July 1979 transformed that night's performance of Lover and Friend into a farewell that was at once sweet and agonizing. On September 17, 2011, upon the stage of the Portsmouth Jazz Festival, Vesta Williams offered up the final radiant melodies of her life before the velvet curtain closed forever. Amidst the windswept atmosphere of the festival, the singer with the enchanting powerhouse vocals chose to sing "Congratulations," her most sorrowful anthem. The footage capturing that moment reveals an artist still burning brightly with music, passionate and fiery, completely unaware that her heart possessed only enough strength to beat for exactly 5 more short days. The cruelty of fate struck on September 22nd, when it was discovered she had drawn her final breath in a hotel room in California due to complications from heart disease. The Portsmouth footage has now become a piece of shocking documentation, recording the image of a diva standing at the pinnacle of devotion right before destiny intervened. The stage lights of that night were still blazing, the applause of the audience was still echoing, but the soul of R&B had quietly departed this world in isolation between 4 hotel walls. The death of Vesta Williams transformed the performance of Congratulations into a haunting farewell. The artist fell, leaving those final frames as a painful hyphen between the glory on stage and the cold, solitary nature of reality, exposing an aching truth in the modern entertainment world. Behind the roaring applause and the colorful lights, the artist must sometimes fight alone against silent diseases and the erosion of time without a single soul knowing. On August 20th, 2006, beneath the sky of San Francisco at the Fogfest Festival, the legend James Brown stood upon the stage to execute the final dance steps of his illustrious career. Amidst the windswept meadows of Fort Mason, the godfather of funk maintained the bearing of a monarch, offering up to the audience a blazing rendition of the classic anthem, Sex Machine. This footage, captured by producer Eric Pradoel as if by destiny for posterity, inadvertently became the final chapter in the musical memoir of an undying monument. Looking at those masterful steps and the boundless energy on stage that night, no one could believe that just 4 months later, the world would bid him an eternal farewell. The sudden departure of James Brown on the very day of Christmas in 2006 transformed the performance of Sex Machine at Fort Mason from a vibrant show into a proud, defiant goodbye. The footage stands as a museum preserving the unconquerable spirit of the legendary singer. Until his very last breath, he remained a restless musical machine, turning the stage into a cathedral and transforming his own passing into an immortal legend on the holiest day of humanity. Security camera footage dated April 20th, 2016, captures the final steps of Prince as he and his bodyguard enter the clinic of Dr. Michael Todd Schulenberg. Dressed in simple attire, the global musical icon appears visibly exhausted, having completely shed the blinding aura usually seen on stage. No one could have suspected that, less than 24 hours after these quiet images, the heart of that genius legend would stop beating forever inside an elevator at the Paisley Park estate. Prince's death from an overdose of fentanyl, an incredibly potent painkiller, exposed a naked and aching dark corner of the artistic elite. Behind the immortal hits and the illustrious career lay a painful reality. The artist was forced to rely on doses of opioids to battle the physical agony accumulated after decades of devotion. Dr. Schulenberg's $30,000 settlement for prescribing violations, while not an admission of guilt, still leaves a massive question mark regarding the medical system's responsibility toward celebrities. When the stage lights fade and the grease paint is removed, musical gods are merely bodies of flesh and blood hollowed out by prolonged physical pain. Prince collapsed at the very peak of wealth in isolation and bitterness, proving that chemical doses may soothe temporary pain, but stand ready to snatch away the life of a legend in a single, careless split-second of destiny. 19 reels of footage, 19 human lives, and 19 haunting farewells. These films are not merely documentation of death, they are mirrors reflecting the ruthless reality of the entertainment world. Is society consuming their talent with such ravenous hunger that we forget behind these icons are flesh and blood human beings, filled with vulnerability? Their departures ring as a wake-up call regarding the price of fame and the naked, dark corners that Hollywood and the stage lights constantly work to conceal. The journey to uncover these life stories and the untold secrets of Hollywood will never truly end. If these moments touched your soul, please hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you do not miss our next videos.